talking and shouting in your sleep. Imagine you're sleeping wrapped warmly in a blanket while in the next room your brother is talking on the phone. It would be normal, except he doesn't have a phone in his hands, and the conversation comes from beneath the covers. How would you react? Now add one more twist. Some people don't just whisper in their sleep, they shout words loud enough to wake the whole house. What is happening in their brains at that moment? More importantly, could this happen to any of us? Let's take a journey into the night to find out why our lips keep moving even when our consciousness is off. Get ready, you're about to discover how the sleeping brain conducts actual night negotiations without your knowledge and why it has such a strange habit. Every night, it's like we hit the restart button, plunging into sleep with the hope of silence and peace. But for millions, this silence is an illusion. They talk, argue, sometimes even shout, completely unaware by morning. Why is the topic of nighttime talking so relevant now? First, it's familiar to almost anyone who has shared a bed or room with a partner, child, or friend. Second, behind the simple phenomenon of somniloquy, that's the scientific term for talking in one's sleep, lie subtle mechanisms of memory, emotions, and subconscious conflicts. Understanding these mechanisms gives us the key to how the brain sorts daily impressions and guards our mental health. In the next 20 minutes, you will learn what exactly happens inside the skull when consciousness shuts down, but speech centers stay active. Why some people mumble quietly while others shout as if giving a battle command. How the content of nighttime remarks reflects our hidden fears, desires, and unfinished business. Where the line lies between a harmless quirk and a symptom of a serious sleep disorder. And finally, which simple steps can reduce the frequency of nighttime talking, or at least protect loved ones from loud surprises. It's important to note we will speak in simple terms, leaving complex jargon where it's absolutely necessary. Every few minutes, you'll find a real-life example to keep theory from floating aimlessly. It's time to lift the night's veil and give voice to our sleeping brain. Part 1. The brain's neurophysiological culinary workshop. Now imagine the brain as a 24-hour restaurant kitchen. During the day, the head chef, your consciousness, runs the show, giving orders and making sure the sauces don't burn. At night, the chef goes home, the lights dim, but the sous chefs quietly continue sorting ingredients and prepping supplies. It's in this twilight that the speech centers activate, areas responsible for forming words and controlling articulation. They seem to be checking inventory. Are all the verbs in place? Are the consonants not overcooked? As we drift into what's called the light sleep phase, the brain gradually shuts down most body movements, so we don't wander around acting out dreams. However, full paralysis doesn't happen right away. This small gap allows lips to move and vocal cords to let out a few sounds. Then, during the REM sleep phase, when vivid and often emotional dreams occur, the speech centers become even more active. But the body muscles remain paralyzed, like waiters stuck to the floor. Only facial muscles and vocal cords can move, creating the very night monologue. It's important to note that the brain works on a clever compromise at these moments. On one hand, it tries to unpack the emotions accumulated during the day, sort memories, and strengthen necessary neural connections. On the other, it keeps a minimal link to the outside world. What if the fire alarm or the child's call requires immediate awakening? To avoid missing danger, it leaves a small open gate in the auditory cortex along with speech zones. That's why sometimes you can hear your name in a dream and even respond to it. The kitchen metaphor helps explain an intriguing nuance. While the head chef strictly follows the recipe during the day, At night, the sous chefs work more freely, tasting, adding spices, experimenting. The brain works the same way. Without conscious control, it allows spontaneous speech constructions. This creates strange dialogues, fragmented phrases, and mixed languages. You might not know a word of Italian, but suddenly whisper buonanotte, a leftover phrase accidentally heard and buried in long-term memory. A true story. Once, a young woman named Katie was camping with colleagues. One night, she woke the whole group by shouting, "Retreat to the west!" In the morning, she laughed. She had never served in the military. The day before, the group had played a board strategy game where her character was leading the retreat. The brain, like a caring baker, added sugar to the night recipe and delivered a battle cry in the middle of the dark forest. Next, we need to explore why Katie stuck to one command shout, while her husband, for example, might sometimes speak a whole paragraph without raising his voice. To answer this, let's move on to the next section and analyze where the strength and volume of night vocalizations come from. Part 2. Whispers, thunder, and lightning. Why some mumble and others shout. Let's start with a paradoxical observation. The quieter a person is during the day, the louder they often are in their sleep. It's as if the shy ones store up emotions and release them at night, taking advantage of the fact that the audience is fast asleep. The volume of nighttime speech depends on three key factors: the sleep stage, the emotional charge, and individual nervous system traits. First, the STI. During the calm phases of slow-wave sleep, the brain is busy archiving memories, and if speech breaks through, it comes out as a faint whisper. During the intense REM phase, emotions run high, dreams become more cinematic, and the speech centers get an extra boost of energy. The result? A loud voice or even a shout. Second, the emotional charge. Imagine a dam holding back a flow of water. During the day, we keep the gates closed: manners, work agreements, self-control. At night, the gates open slightly. Pent-up feelings burst out, rushing in a torrent of words. Someone who experienced a conflict might finish an argument in their sleep, adding words they were too afraid to say during the day. Third, the nervous system. Think of it as the sensitivity of a microphone. Some people have a sensitive mic, and even a small spike in limbic system activity triggers a loud reaction. Others have a higher threshold, and their nighttime voice is barely audible. A real-life example: a father of 3 used to waking at the slightest noise, woke his family with a shout of "Save the documents!" after a stressful work deadline. His nervous system, trained to react to threats, amplified the signal. It's important to note that loud night screams scare those around more than the sleeper. In most cases, they're harmless, like the backfire of an old motorcycle. Loud and sudden, but afterward, the engine runs smoother. Problems arise when screams are accompanied by movements. The person jumps up, waves their arms, might hit furniture. Then, somniloquy turns into a more serious sleep disorder, requiring a specialist's attention. To smoothly transition to the next question, let's ask, what exactly does our inner speaker say or shout? Does nighttime speech contain a hidden message worth decoding? The answer is in the next section. Part 3. The secret screenwriter: how the brain writes lines for the nighttime performance. Now imagine your subconscious as a screenwriter working nights behind closed doors. He sorts through daily events like an editor with drafts, cutting the unnecessary, adding drama. Dreams are the result, and the lines we speak are the voice behind the curtains, commenting on what's happening. Researchers who have listened to hundreds of nighttime speech recordings note an interesting detail. Grammar is mostly preserved, but sentences are shorter, sharper. It's as if an editor cuts a long monologue into quick clips. The word "no" often sounds simple and strong. It's like a universal stop button, helping the brain rehearse the refusal we didn't dare speak during the day. A real-life example. Young lawyer Marcus had been preparing a presentation for the board of directors for several weeks and was extremely nervous. At night, his wife recorded him confidently saying, "Colleagues, the proposal is unanimously approved." In the morning, Marcus admitted he was most afraid of failure. The brain held a dress rehearsal, allowing the subconscious to run through success before hypothetical defeat. Furthermore, it's important to note another layer of meaning. The brain uses sleep speech for memory consolidation. By repeating key phrases, it records them in long-term storage, like a teacher reviewing material before an exam. That's why students cramming poetry sometimes recite it in their sleep, and musicians sing melodies they practice during the day. But there's also a reverse effect. Nighttime speech can point to an emotional tangle that consciousness hides. An outwardly calm person might shout in their sleep, "I disagree," and wake up with no memory of the episode. Here, somniloquy becomes a hint. It's time to deal with unspoken conflict before it grows into chronic stress. The last logical question to ask, should you run to a doctor after hearing your own nighttime monologue? Or is joking "I'm just sociable enough"? The answer awaits in the final section. Part 4. Normal versus. Concerning when to act and what helps. Let's divide the phenomenon into two categories: harmless quirk and warning sign. The harmless version looks like this. Episodes happen infrequently, speech is brief, body stays calm. After an emotionally intense week, you mumbled something a couple of nights. That's normal. The concerning version differs in 4 ways. First, frequency, almost every night. Second, intensity, screaming, swearing, long tirades. Third, movement, arms flailing, body jumping up, possible injuries. Fourth, daytime consequences, severe drowsiness, concentration problems, irritability. If at least 2 points match, consider seeing a sleep specialist. Now for practical steps you can take today. Sleep hygiene. Go to bed and wake up at the same time. Air out the bedroom. Put away devices an hour before sleep. It's like tuning a piano before a concert. Proper tuning reduces the chance of false notes at night. Stress management. Meditation, breathing exercises, brief emotional diary entries help release inner tension. Imagine untying knots on a rope. The fewer knots, the less likely they'll tighten at night. Safe environment. If screaming comes with movement, remove sharp corners, place a mat on the floor by the bed. Explain to your partner that waking someone during an episode is wrong. Better to gently soothe with voice when the screaming subsides. Professional help. Cognitive behavioral therapy, audio biofeedback, and in rare cases, medication help reduce episode frequency. Important note, self-medicating with strong substances will only worsen the problem. Example. Sarah, a project manager, brought her laptop to bed every evening. Work stretched past midnight, and soon she began shouting in her sleep, "Send the report urgently." After consulting a doctor, she moved work outside the bedroom, introduced evening relaxation rituals, and within 2 weeks, the nighttime screaming stopped. Let's wrap up in the next section and turn knowledge into concrete actions. Conclusion. Now that we've reached the end, let's look back. We've seen that nighttime talking isn't a bug, but a feature of sleep architecture. The brain, like a night dispatcher, continues sorting emotions and memories, and sleep speech are radio communications accidentally broadcast. We understood how sleep phases, emotional dams, and individual nervous system settings shape the volume and content of these remarks. We learned that sometimes a whispered no helps rehearse refusal, while a loud soul cry can warn of stress overload. Finally, we discovered where the line lies between normal and reason to visit a specialist. Now a question for you, are you ready to listen to your sleeping brain? Try keeping a sleep diary for a week. Record bedtime, mood before sleep, and any partner reports about nighttime words. Within just a few days, you'll see patterns, meaning you'll have a control lever. Set evening airplane mode for your nervous system. Turn off the news, stretch, breathe deeply. If you're watching this video thinking, I never talk in my sleep, ask yourself another question. Am I getting enough sleep for my brain to peacefully process the day's events without extra commentary? It's important to note that sleep is capital, not expense. The better we invest in it today, the higher the dividends in energy, memory, and emotional balance tomorrow. So right now, set a reminder to go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Share this video with someone complaining about nighttime screaming, and subscribe to the Psychology Today channel. Coming up will be analyses of forgotten dreams, sleepwalking, and other mysteries of nighttime psychology. Remember, when the lights go out, the brain doesn't go silent. It keeps telling stories. Let's listen carefully, because sometimes the most sincere words are spoken in darkness.